After World War II, the new prime minister is Clement Attlee. He again replaced Winston Churchill. Attlee, again, is a member of the Labour Party. He's a liberal. He's opposed to the maintenance of British rule. His goal is to get Britain out of India in such a way that India is still Britain's ally going forward, both in terms of trade and economics, but also in terms of politics and military in case of future wars. So Clement Attlee sends a group of 4 individuals to work out the political structure and constitution of independent India. The goal of these 4 individuals is to determine what the structure of the government will be. Not to write the constitution, but to kind of determine the broad strokes of the nature of the government, not the detailed constitution, but the broad strokes. And then what the transfer of power protocol will look like. What's the timeline of when India will be independent, and the steps between then and where they are and where they want to go. The cabinet mission has 4 goals. This is from the British perspective. The British want, their ideal would be to have a unified India, for reasons that we established earlier. Preference 2 would be not to burn any bridges. If you can't get a unified India, if you have to partition India in some way, ensure that the leadership that steps into these partition states is friendly with Britain. So the UK is in a situation where they would like to force India to stay unified, but if they're not going to force India to, because they want to have a South Asian ally. So they're stuck in that sense. I would encourage you to, at the end of this video, there's 2 other videos, one from Dr. Zamindar at Brown, explaining the cabinet mission, and then another video from Dr. Jalal at Tufts on the proposed plans for independent India. They're both brief. These are both really, really experts in their field, and I would rather defer to them than to try to speak for them. So after this video is over, go to that. But the cabinet mission in the end concludes that this is the best option. Okay, we're going to have a 3-part federation for India. Group A, Group B, Group C, and then the princely states. We haven't talked about the princely states in a while, but remember, Britain ruled through a combination of direct and indirect rule, and the yellow, the princely states, these are areas in which there was some manner of indirect rule. There was local indigenous leadership, and they had a lot of control over tax and local policies, but Britain still had military foreign policy. They call that stuff. So what they're basically proposing is a federation that is weak at the center, and the provinces hold most of the power. So this would be more, if we were making connections to the United States, more of a Jeffersonian ideal rather than a Hamiltonian one. And you see here United Punjab, United Bengal, 2 issues that I brought up in earlier lectures, and that will also show up later on in future lectures, that having United Bengal and United Punjab is a good thing. And you have 2 of the 3 regions are Muslim majority areas, although Assam in the northeast is pretty mixed. A lot of Christians, a lot of we sometimes call animist faiths. There is a question, if the cabinet mission proposal was accepted, would it have prevented partition violence? I was very interested in this when I was in university because I really thought this was the last best hope for a united India. But it's fair to ask, is this a India that's dead on arrival? Is this an India that is so weak at the center that it's not going to be able to prevent being dominated by Western power is being dominated by the Soviet Union because it can't stick up for itself. Because it's so disunited, it lends itself to being controlled in a sort of neo-colonial way. What ends up happening is Jinnah accepts it. Muhammad Ali Jinnah, here in the bottom with the cabinet mission, he accepts it. It's Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India, who rejects it. And he rejects it, I think, for reasons that are mentioned here. It's a weak central government. Jinnah has visions of independent India being a self-sufficient, industrialized, modern country, and this power-sharing structure wouldn't allow it. And so he rejects it. What we'll see is that this ends up having putting India on a there's no more negotiations after this in a substantial way. This is the last British-Indian negotiations for the structure of independent India. So I want to end here with this meme that was made by a student in years past. So I want to ask the hard question here. To what extent do you think this meme is accurate? So we have Mountbatten offering, Lord Mountbatten is part of, let's scratch Mountbatten written here, and let's say it's the cabinet mission. Okay. Cabinet mission is offering Jinnah the one-state solution, and Jinnah chucks it. To what extent is that accurate? Write it down below in the question below. Okay.